right. Well, for those of you, the couple, 2, 3 of you that stuck around and everything, we are back. Now I'm all like thrown off my game here and everything.
Now you're really riled up and ready to yell at this article.
I'm really riled up to talk about this. So I think everybody that's in the chat that's, watching us live right now probably knows that what the point of this live stream was that we were going to discuss an article that you shared.
I did, just to tick everybody off.
Yeah. Yeah. Make sure you're talking.
I'm talking in the microphone.
There we go. Yeah, and it worked. Well, to be fair, this article that we'll get into what it's all about in a minute. This article, I saw it shared around by a lot of people. It's had a lot of conversation.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Especially since it's part of my day job, as it were. I go around and I'm in a lot of communities, groups, forums, things like that.
Stuff.
Yeah, related to music stuff. And I've seen this article being talked about. And it's pretty interesting because the opinions on it actually seem to be pretty divided.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
they were not divided in our group.
No, not in the Geeking Squad group. It seemed like most people were like, this is bullshit. But and a lot of these other ones, people are like, yeah, they have a point about this. And, people start getting into things that I too much of it I feel like is in some ways it's based too much on their own personal tastes and opinion. But then at the same time, I think that the part of the problem with this article is that it's a little bit too clinical and stilted.
Yes, absolutely.
In one way. And what we're talking about, what are we talking about, Meg? You can tell
We
them.
are talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Focus. There we go.
Yeah. Something. What is it?
The Great Rock Hall Debate. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the title of the thing. Not that it matters.
Well, they can read it then. Why do I have to
most
repeat
of our
it?
Hey, Javier's here. Yeah, it's the Great Rock Hall Debate. And what it is that some people got together and they decided that, and it's been an ongoing debate for years, they decided that there were a lot of people that have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, famously and located in lovely downtown Cleveland, Ohio. And they said, well, how would we, if you were able to retroactively kind of go back and decide like who really belongs there and who doesn't, how would we go about actually like, factually in their estimation. Calculating it. Yes, exactly. And so they came up with this whole method, this method where they used things such as the Rolling Stone, like 500 most influential albums and influential artists of all time.
Yeah, most highly charted and stuff.
And then they looked at like chart hits. They looked at a lot of it was based on charts and based on critical reception. Like, because all those Rolling Stone articles and Spin or any of those things, New Music Express and any of those things from around the world, they're all based on whoever the writing staff is. It's not based on like the public. It's based on who is contributing to these articles and,
Yeah, so that's error number one.
Yeah, I mean, I know some critics. I know, well, I mean, from playing music for so many years, I know quite a few critics. I know quite a few rock journalists. Some of them are excellent. I mean, and they're all opinionated. I don't necessarily agree with all their opinions, but some journalists and some critics are really good at what they do. But an awful lot of them, in my estimation, don't. They're too stilted, and they're not able to take a fair critical look at things. It's just based on their own prejudices and,
what they like.
And and what they like or what they think should exist and not exist and all that stuff. So anyway, I was really curious when you posted this article and I saw all these other people posting this article. I was like, okay, well, I'm sure I'm not going to agree with it and stuff. But wow, I was really stunned at the way this worked. And I'd love to know what you guys and gals and everybody out there, what you all think about this. We're going to go through, we've got here, if you can see, there's the article that we're talking about. It was posted on like cleveland.com or something like that, put together by this Troy L. Smith guy, who was the guy that wrote the article, although he's not the guy that compiled the entire stats. I think they had a bunch of people, contribute to this and stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, just looking at that page of that article, you can see that that's going to irritate me because, of course,
that's what caught my attention was that picture. I was like, uh-oh.
Right. Because, I mean, of course, it's like, who doesn't belong in the Rock Hall? And, of course, they put Kiss as the main photo there, you fuckers. So, yeah, that's pretty irritating. But what I did here was I actually pulled up the lists and I put them, so hopefully, if you can see.
It's working so far. I keep an eye on it.
Yeah. I put it so
don't lose you.
So that you guys can see it on the screen. And then we'll just kind of go through. So is anybody, I'm not seeing anybody in the chat. You've all got quiet. Did you all run off on us now?
They are intently listening to every word you say.
Something tells me they're not. Something tells me they're
like, oh, okay, we'll come back to it when they get really into it.
But yeah, we were going to start getting into.
And that is now.
Yeah, we were going to start getting into the lists here and everything. So without further ado, I'm going to pull up one of the lists, take my fat face off the screen there. All right, so you can see that, see, I wonder why it's still not coming up, video capture device. Yeah, there was something with that.
There was something, yeah.
Yeah, there was something.
We had our video on all these, but it's not there now, so.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think it's this video. Yeah, that's really weird that it did that. Anyway, back to the...
Yeah. Stop venting.
Yeah, I know.
So you're going to stew on it all
I know.
night.
Well, let's see what happens here. Oh, there we are. Now let's see.
Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, you guys let me know if you see our little heads pop up there.
Yep, we're there. They see you moving us around.
Yep. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with that.
There you go.
Awesome. Okay. The entitled, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I kind of agree with what you're saying. The methodology didn't include the influence. No, it very much
did not. Obviously, as especially we get into those later years, which we will.
Yeah, and I want to get into other things, not just influence, but other things that I think people don't understand factor into it. The first year, as you can see here, is 1986, which I mean that's easy enough because they didn't discount anybody from that. They had Chuck Berry, James Brown, Ray Charles, Sam Cooke, Fats Domino, Everly Brothers, Buddy Holly, Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis Presley, and Little Richard. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that could have really been debated in that. I mean, you're talking about the absolute foundation of rock and roll.
Yeah, when I first started reading this article, I thought they eliminated all those people. I was about to lose my shit already. I was like, what? I was like, oh, wait, no, they're not highlighted. Okay.
No, and as people
Calm down.
And as people can see here, I mean, they took it easy with some of the first few years, but it didn't last long. Once we get to 1987, we had the Coasters, Eddie Cochran, Bo Diddley, Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye, Bill Haley and his Comets, B.B. King, Clyde McPhatter, Ricky Nelson, Roy Orbison, my favorite, Carl Perkins, as George Harrison would say. That was George Harrison's favorite, is Carl Perkins. Smokey Robinson. What does that say? Big Joe?
I don't know. I can't read any of those things.
Oh, it's so Big Joe Turner. Muddy Waters and Jackie Wilson. Out of that, they eliminated the Coasters and Clyde McPhatter. Now, I guess in a way, I'm going to actually somewhat agree with this one, which is not to discount the importance of Clyde McPhatter or the Coasters, but that list is brutally long.
Yes.
Even when I was...
You were very much complaining trying to put this together.
Editing
Why is that
this
list
together?
so long?
I'm
It's
like,
messing up my whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it doesn't even fit on the page. I'm like, why? I get that it was new and there was a lot of people at that point that were eligible for being inducted, but I mean, yeah, if you're going to eliminate people out of that, the two that I do think could be eliminated out of that would be the Coasters, just because the Coasters, while they were great and had a few, memorable hits and stuff, I don't know that they were that influential on a big scale, and at least not in a lasting kind of way. And same with Clyde McPhatter. I can agree with that. Moving on to 1988, we had the Beach Boys, the Beatles, the Drifters, Bob Dylan, and the Supremes. Now,
you can't get rid of any of those.
No, but what's funny about that is I'm like, well, why did they feel the need to cram so many into 1987 and then they only had 5 the next year? You know what I mean? Like,
tick you off when all these years later.
I guess so. I mean, I know how they were based. Some people could only be eligible after it had to be a certain amount of time from when their debut album was released. That's the way the Rock Hall works. I think it's got to be 25 years since the debut album. If anybody knows, correct me on that one. But I think you have to have had your debut album out at least 25 years ago. So I understand there was a bunch of eligible people for 87, but they really could have moved some of those over to 88. But at the same time, I mean, my God, look at that 88 list. Beach Boys, Beatles, Drifter. I love the Drifters. I'm a big, big fan of the Drifters. Bob Dylan and the Supremes. I mean, yeah, you're talking about 5 of the all-time most influential. So smartly, they didn't remove anything of that. The last year that's somewhat, acceptable. Yeah, Joe says 25 years. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, that's what I thought. The last year that's somewhat reasonable, even though I don't totally agree with it, is they got to 1989, which was Dion, Otis Redding, Rolling Stones, The Temptations, and Stevie Wonder. And out of that list, they said, well, you could remove Dion. So famously of Dion and the Belmonts and all that. I wouldn't remove Dion, man. I mean, again, is he as big as Stevie Wonder or, Buddy Holly or something like that? No, but I mean, Dion, again, I think that was a pretty big influence there for a while. I don't know. I guess I could go either way on that.
For a while might be the key word there.
Yeah, but see, that pisses me off too, is because I see that as we go on through this list. I see them gradually, when we get to the later years, they start discounting older artists more, kind of being like, well, who remembers them sort of thing. And I'm like, dude.
Yeah, but the whole point of this list also is it's got to be a highly elite group.
Yeah, I guess so.
They have long-lasting names, like all the Beach Boys and the Supremes. Those everybody still knows those names.
Right. I guess so.
They're still household names.
I guess so. I feel like there's a little bit of ageism going on there, though, because I feel like there's still a lot of people out there that very much would look at Dion and his music as being very crucial, I mean, to say, Matt says he had 2 songs. I mean, he had 2 super well-known songs. We're going to get into that kind of stuff later, too, because there's other artists where they're like, that artist only has 1 song people remember. And I'm like, oh, the fuck they do. And I'm not just talking about my taste, because I know I'm pretty in-depth with a lot of my interests and stuff. Anyway, now they start getting a little bit more vicious with some of these lists. In 1990, we get Hank Ballard, Bobby Darin, the Four Seasons, the Four Tops, the Kinks, the Platters, Simon and Garfunkel, and the Who. Now, again, Hank Ballard, okay, I guess you can sit there and say, well, that's not like necessarily like a household name, but his importance in the early years and what he did and everything, that's one of those things where, again, I think it's less about massive popularity and more about influence, and the importance to, what it means to rock and roll and everything, especially since we're still in the earlier years here. I don't feel like he needs to be deleted, but if they were going to get rid of somebody, I guess I'd go with Hank Ballard. Bobby Darin, I mean, man, yeah, I guess. I don't know, man. Bobby Darin, again, is another one that was a pretty big fucking deal there for a while, and he does still have songs that I feel are like still pretty well known. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe because if your thing is like you're saying, it's not like necessarily like super legendary type thing, but But the Four Seasons, no, I'm sorry.
No, that's the one I can disagree with.
That's ridiculous. The Four Seasons are huge. And they still are. Their music is still remembered. It's known through generations. Even if people don't know who did, you have younger generations. They're like, I know the song. I don't know who did it. Like you.
Yeah, that's me a lot.
That's always
me
you.
A lot.
But yeah, Frankie Valli was an East Coast staple. Yeah, and I mean, again, I think Frankie Valli, Four Seasons, he's still known. Those songs are still very, very much known. They've been covered umpteen times. They've been in musicals, Broadway musicals. They've been in music soundtracks for movies and TV shows, and they still get used. I feel like that's really discrediting the Four Seasons. I don't get that one at all. We get to 1991. We have, Laverne Baker, The Byrds, John Lee Hooker, The Impressions, Wilson Pickett, Jimmy Reed, Ike and Tina Turner. They eliminated
everybody except for one.
They eliminated everybody except The Byrds. Now, I agree about The Byrds staying because I think The Byrds were highly influential and important, and still are, influenced a lot of people. Then they sold a lot, but Laverne Baker, again, that's one thing. John Lee Hooker, I guess they're going to say John Lee Hooker because it's like, well, he was never rock and roll. He was straight up fucking Chicago, blues. Like that's just straight up blues.
Okay.
But John Lee Hooker's influence on rock and roll is so great.
Which is probably why he's in the Rock and Roll
Hall of Fame. That
Okay.
is. I know that's why it is. But so that's why I'm like, man, I don't know. I understand and again, he was an artist that didn't sell a lot of records because of the times, and he was blues, and unfortunately because of the fucking times, and there's a lot of racism with that kind of shit. He didn't sell as many records as fucking Buddy Holly would. But I don't know, man. I think John Lee Hooker belongs in there. The Impressions, again, that's kind of like the Coasters, I guess. I think they're a great, there was a great group, but I can see that being so-so. Wilson Pickett, fuck you. Wilson Pickett absolutely belongs in that fucking list, man.
The Blues had a baby and they named it Rock and Roll.
Well, exactly. That's exactly it. That's why I understand. You can't put every blues artist in there, but there are certain blues artists that were really, really important to rock and roll. Still are. You can listen to bands like the Black Keys, man, the White Stripes, all those kind of bands, that are considered, I know they've already been around 20 years and stuff, but still considered contemporary artists and everything. And you listen to those bands and you hear a fuck ton of John Lee Hooker in there, like straight up John Lee Hooker. The influence is still there. John Lee Hooker deserves to be there. Impressions, whatever. Wilson Pickett, what are you laughing at?
You.
Well, okay, I thought it was someone in the group. I see Joe says,
Tina Turner, that
Ike and
surprised
Tina
me.
Turner, come on. Yeah, exactly. And come on, Ike and Tina Turner, you're going to take them out of there? Give me a break. Tina Turner, even if you don't like Ike Turner for some obvious reasons, and everything, Ike Turner created rock and roll, man. Rocket 88. That song, just that alone, you have to sit there and go, okay. He might have been a right bastard in a lot of ways. There's a lot of people on this list were. But Ike Turner, Rocket 88, what was that, 1953, 52, something like that? That was the nucleus of rock and roll right there. And then Tina Turner, come on. Absolute legend. She's a legend.
Yeah, that's a legend.
Tina Turner's a fucking legend. To say I don't get it. I don't. He says, I see a storm cloud way in the distance. Can't wait for Larry to get to Kiss. Oh yeah, well I already brought that up earlier in passing. Just wait.
Just wait.
Sadly I'm so used to the Kiss being discredited thing. God. Half the guys in November's Doom can't stand Kiss, and I have to listen to that shit all the time.
Tour.
Oh, yeah. All right, 1992, Bobby Blue Bland, Booker T and the MGs, Johnny Cash, the Isley Brothers, Jimi Hendrix Experience, Sam and Dave, and the Yardbirds. That's, man, what a great list that is there. I personally, again, I wouldn't get rid of anybody out of that, not even Bobby Blue Bland. Again, another one very important in those early influencing, blues, all that. I mean, Bobby Blue Bland, the Beatles were into Bobby Blue Bland. I don't know, folks. I wouldn't discredit them. Booker T and the fucking MGs. Do you people understand who Booker T and the fucking MGs are? Most people are like, well, they only had one big hit with Green Onions. That was the only big hit they had on their own. But those guys, Donald Duck Dunn, Steve the Colonel Cropper, Booker himself, those guys, they played on all of the big rock and, soulful Motown, like all that, maybe not Motown, but they were part of that Southern, they were the backing band. I guess I'm getting all flustered here. They were the backing for so many records you hear. If you listen to, Wilson Pickett and Otis Redding and things like that. Otis Redding, yeah, especially. I mean, you listen to those records, the band that you're hearing on that is largely Booker T and the MGs. To sit there and say, no, they should go, that's just, as Vito would say, it's fucking dumb.
He would say.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, right. Those cats were on everything. Exactly. You can't, I guess I can forgive the average person. Like, I'm sure you didn't know.
I don't know who the fuck they are.
And I understand that. I forgive, but that's why the people that make these decisions and vote on this stuff are the people that have to fucking know what they're talking about. Come on, man. Give me, dude. Anyway, all right, moving on to 93. Ruth Brown, Cream, Creedence Clearwater Revival, The Doors, Etta James, Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, Van Morrison, and Sly and the Family Stone. Okay, out of that, they took out Ruth Brown. Again, it's another one of those, we're falling into a pattern here, where they're kind of picking what I think they're looking at as sort of being the easy, low-hanging fruit, you know what I mean, with these ones. Ruth Brown, again, not necessarily a household name. Does she belong in there? I think she belongs in there, but Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, though, they want to, again, I feel like that's another one where people are going, oh, well, what's the big deal about them? Man, well, you know what? Go and ask a whole shitload of soul and funk and blues and pop and everybody, artists, especially a lot of, African-American ones that came up in the 60s and late 50s and then went on to be big stars themselves in the following decades. Ask them what they thought of Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, and I think they're going to say, yeah, those cats were important.
I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. I'm going to take a drink. You talk.
Yeah. And they use example of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Okay.
Right.
Now you keep talking about influence, their influence and influence. Again, please don't yell at me. I agree. Influence is a huge part of it. Okay. Right. I agree with it. Mm-hmm. But you keep talking about that. Now, in the Baseball Hall of Fame, they don't, you don't get in because somebody influenced you to get into baseball. You get in on your own merit.
Okay.
So now,
but I think
like
that
Babe Ruth says, he may have influenced all these people, but he got in based on what he did.
Yeah, but I think that it's all part of it's all pieces of the pie. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I mean, like I said, again, I agree. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I don't disagree with their methodology. I disagree with their limited scope with it. I mean, to say, well, we're going to count Billboard charts and to count critics' opinions and how things are, and top 500 lists. Yeah, of course. I understand taking that all into account. But I don't think they took enough other things into account.
No, I agree. Yeah, I like the Rolling Stone magazine. Who the fuck cares what a magazine thinks?
Yeah. People don't even read magazines anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, they're all online. It's online magazines. I still buy magazines like fucking crazy, but, they're all over the goddamn house. It's ridiculous. But anyway, 1994, we get The Animals, the band, Duane Eddy. Oh, wow, Duane. Oh, my God, this fucking list. Grateful Dead, Elton John, John Lennon, Bob Marley, and Rod Stewart. And out of all those, they got rid of The Animals and Duane Eddy. Oh, guys. Again, I mean, Duane Eddy is another one that it's like, yeah, he may not necessarily have that sort of like chart influence that people like Elton John, is going to have and stuff like that. But Duane, especially as a musician, as a guitar player, Duane Eddy was so crucial So crucial. And that's, to me, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like this has to be about more than just sales or even just, popularity. It has to be about, like, what would rock and roll be without them? Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Again, I say it's influence, but influence is even just too general of a thing to say.
But I don't know. I think there should be like a rock and roll hall of fame, and these are the lasting people. Like me, the regular person, I know these people. They are household names still to this day. That's hall of fame stuff. Right. Whereas you're like the influence and all that stuff, it's more the history of rock and roll.
Well,
what made rock and roll what it is today?
Yeah, Mike Rees also just brought up in the chat a very interesting point about, he's saying, how many members did they induct for the Grateful Dead? Because here's the other thing. That's a whole other enchilada to get into, is that when they induct these bands, a lot of times, they don't induct all the members. They won't, like, say, for example, Kiss has been touring with the same lineup now for almost 20 years. But those new guys that are in the band, they don't get inducted. They only inducted the original 4 guys in the band.
You kidding?
You didn't know they did that?
No.
Same thing with bands like Journey, any of those. Like if there's,
yeah, that really ticks me off.
Yeah,
like that.
A lot of people don't like that because I don't think that's fair. They try to look at it like, well, but these new guys weren't influential and important and didn't chart like these old guys did. And to me, if you induct a band, you induct a band. You inducted everybody that was in that band. I mean, I don't understand. Is there only so much space on the wall to put names? Is that what it is? Like, I don't understand the thing. It's not like they're fucking paying these motherfuckers. You know what I mean? to being like, we don't want to have to pay all 9 of your members,
Or if they're looking at the sales and all that stuff and the Billboard charts, then you induct the members that are on those
Well, that's kind of what they're doing. That's sort of what that's the problem is, you can't, but again, I mean, to sit there and look at, they didn't induct Tommy and Eric from Kiss into the Rock Hall, but then meanwhile, albums like Sonic Boom and Monster, their last couple albums, they charted pretty fucking high, man. Is
it too soon for them to be in the Hall of Fame?
No, it has nothing to do. It doesn't work that way. It's just they just won't induct.
Once they're in, they're in. New guys can't get in.
No, it doesn't work that way. Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, it's pretty lame.
Irks me.
And anyway, as far as the 94, the Animals not being in there, come on, man, dude. That's just ridiculous. Animals are massive band in so many ways. 95, we get to Allman Brothers Band. Al Green. Okay, Janis Joplin, Led Zeppelin, Martha and the Vandellas, Neil Young, and Frank Zappa. And out of all of those, they eliminated Martha and the Vandellas. Again, I'm like, oh, come on. I don't. It's another one of those. I get why they're doing it. I just don't agree. I mean, Martha and the Vandellas. I guess maybe they're not as big as the Supremes, who made it in, but people still fucking sing Martha and the Vandellas songs. Those songs are still everywhere, Dancing in the Streets, all that shit.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't. We got so much more to go through. Yeah, I'm gonna have to really blaze through this and stuff. I know. I'm sorry, folks, that I'm taking so long with this, but what do we have there for 96? You want to read them off?
I can't read.
You can't read anything.
It's too far away.
Oh, hold good on. Lord! As Meg falls into the camera.
Yeah, let me see. I want to get real up close when you get the video up there. I'm gonna be real close, guys. So I apologize. Let's see. We got David Bowie, Jefferson Airplane. Oh. You covered it up.
I just blocked you out. Yeah.
Little Willie John, Gladys Knight and the Pigs.
Pigs?
What is this? Oh, Pips. I told you I can't fucking read this. God damn it.
Gladys Knight and the Pigs.
You can go fuck yourself, okay?
That's fucking amazing. Do you want me to take over reading now?
Let me finish it. I got 3 more. Let me see how badly I can fuck this up still, okay? You stay back there and laugh at me. Okay. Pink Floyd. The Shirtless. What does that say?
The Shirtless.
The Shirleys. Was that what that says? In the Velvet Underground.
That's fucking amazing.
All right, there you go.
All right, I'm gonna read.
You got Shirtless Pigs, okay?
That'd be me after a shower. No, 96. Let me start this over again. We got David Bowie, Jefferson Airplane, Little Willie John, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Pink Floyd, the Shirelles,
Pink Floyd,
and the Velvet Underground. Everything's gonna be Pig. This whole list is about Pig. Piggy Bowie,
Never
Jefferson.
Live that down, am I?
Jefferson Air Pig, Little Piggy John.
Little Willie Pig,
the Piggy Underground. Sorry, I made these so small, but anyway. Wow, that was amazing. Out of that list, they eliminated Little Willie John, which, again, we're falling into that same thing with, those earlier artists like that they don't view as being rock and roll and blah, 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 blah. Gladys Knight and the Pips, man, I don't know. I feel like they are.
Clearly, I don't know who the fuck they are.
You do. Again, you'd know their music. Midnight Train to Georgia.
Oh, okay.
And all that. Yeah, and others. I mean... I guess. I mean, I feel like they belong in there, but again, it's one of those things where I can see the average person going, At least they kept the Shirelles in there because I would have thought they would have said no.
Oh, is that what it is? Shirelles? It's not the Shirleys?
No, it's not the Shirleys.
Shirelles.
No, it's the Shirelles. Yeah. Wow, that's fucking awesome. Actually, I'm really glad I made it that small because that was pretty goddamn funny. 1997, we have the Bee Gees, Buffalo Springfield. Oh. Crosby, Stills, and Nash, the Jackson 5.
Yeah, they can go out. I'm fine with that. I know that's my personal taste.
Holy fuck. Okay, let me keep going. Joni Mitchell, Parliament Funkadelic, and the Young Rascals. So out of that list, who, I'm sorry, I will fight to the death. There's not one name on that list that does not deserve to be in the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They all very much do. Buffalo Springfield. I guess I get their, I'm sure their rationale is they were short-lived and it's more about who they spawned and than the band's career itself, because out of Buffalo Springfield, you got Stephen Stills, from Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Okay.
And you got Neil Young, from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Mm-hmm. They offshot from that and formed CSNY. So I guess I can see that, but I mean, I feel like Buffalo Springfield were pretty influential for their time, but I guess I can go with that, especially since they have Crosby, Stills, and Nash in the same list. That seems a little bit redundant. So that one, maybe I could actually agree with that one.
Because you already got the credit. Yeah,
exactly. For the most part. The Jackson 5, they eliminated.
I was shocked that got eliminated, but again, I don't mind.
Okay, again, regardless of whether or not you are like Meg and you don't like the Jackson 5, it's the Jackson 5, folks. They had a fucking Saturday morning cartoon. I mean, that's how big. I mean, and they're still influential. Their songs are fucking everywhere.
I know.
Everywhere, yeah.
I know.
You don't like it when little tree branch Groot is dancing around to Jackson 5 song? Oh, baby, give me one more chance. No.
That's tolerable.
Yeah. It's only as long as Baby Groot is there, then you like it.
Then I can, right? Yeah.
Okay. But, I mean, I'm sorry, but I think most people, whether you like the Jackson 5 or not, can agree with me that that's just fucking stupid. Yeah. The Young Rascals. Now, that might be a name that, again, people aren't going to be immediately familiar with nowadays. But the Young Rascals were one of the... Man, people don't understand how big that band was and how important that band was. I mean, they were one of the biggest bands of the 60s. Hands down. Definitely one of the best bands ever to come from the East Coast. I could start listing all sorts of songs and stuff, and Young Rascals, grooving on a Sunday afternoon. How can I be sure? Gosh, so many. They have their greatest hits is chock full of hits, man. And they were really big and really influential. Absolute one of the foundations of rock and roll in the 60s. They deserve to be there. And people, if you don't check out the Young Rascals, you really ought to, because they're real good. All right, now 98. This is where it really starts getting interesting. Mm-hmm. 98, we have the Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, the Mamas and the Papas, Lloyd Price, Santana, and Gene Vincent. And out of that list, they eliminated Gene Vincent, which, oh man, again, I guess it's going back to what you guys are saying about, the extent of their career and stuff. Gene Vincent wasn't like a thing for real long, but absolutely one of like the foundation of like rock and roll, true rock and roll. Gene Vincent, big influence on people like Paul McCartney, John Lennon, all that stuff. Again, if I played you any of their songs, Gene Vincent, if I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, Bebop-a-lula. Bebop-a-lula, it's Bebop-a-fucking-lula. Damn. But I think he belongs in there. Lloyd Price, again, is falling into that same trope I'm not going to keep going on about as the other ones. Mamas and the Papas, really? I don't know. That's a big act, still very memorable. People still talk about them. Everybody knows that, Mama Cass and what's her face's dad and everything. Phillips, John Phillips and Michelle Phillips, who went on to spawn Mackenzie Phillips and the Wilson Phillips girls and all that kind of stuff. You know who Wilson Phillips is. Oh, Megan doesn't know who Wilson Phillips are. Really? You don't?
Does this surprise you, really?
Yeah, it kind of does, because it seems like even though I know you didn't listen to a lot of like mainstream radio stuff, when you were growing up, but they did Hold On. Someday somebody's going to make you turn around and say, it's fucking Wilson Phillips.
I know the
Wilson,
songs, I don't know.
Carney Wilson went on to be like, a big celebrity and TV star and all that. Anyway, all right, never mind. Anyway, Mamas and the Papas, sorry, they belong in there. I don't care what anybody says. What did I say? Rockabilly. Gina is a monster. Yeah, exactly. Matt, ham sandwich, dude, that's just wrong. I hope the ghost of Mama Cass comes down and kicks you in the dupa. That's just wrong, and you know it. But yeah, like saying rockabilly, that's the thing. Like rockabilly is just like we've got blues artists and Motown artists and stuff like that. Rockabilly is such a massive part of true, real rock and roll. And Gene Vincent had people like Gene Vincent, Eddie Cochran. Oh man, like so truer rock and roll than.
Needs to be a Rockabilly Hall of Fame.
There probably is, but maybe, but I don't know. But they belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 1999. Oh, man, we got some big names in here. We got Billy Joel. We got Curtis Mayfield, Paul McCartney, Del Shannon, Dusty Springfield, Bruce Springsteen, and the Staple Singers. And out of those, obviously, you can't get rid of people like Paul McCartney and Billy Joel. And thank God they kept Dusty Springfield, because I'd have to punch a motherfucker in the throat if they got rid of Dusty Springfield, one of the greatest female artists of all time. But anyway, they got rid of Del Shannon, which, man, again, they're going on that whole like wasn't that influential for that long kind of thing. Del Shannon is Runaway. Run away, and he had others and stuff. He had a couple of hits, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna just keep repeating myself. I feel like he belongs in there because he's such part of that foundation. Staple singers, yeah, I get some of that. Not people thinking, but again, it's that influence, especially on soul, blues, Motown, pop. There's a lot of staple singers influence in there and stuff. So I guess that one's debatable, but I don't have a problem with them being in there. 2000, we've got Eric Clapton, Earth, Wind and Fire, Love and Spoonful, The Moon Glows, Bonnie Raitt, and James Taylor, and they fucking eliminated everyone except stupid ass Eric Clapton.
You want it to be the other way around, don't you?
Well, I wouldn't eliminate Eric Clapton because Eric Clapton is an absolute legend. I'm just not a fan. But, well, I couldn't say that. I like some Eric Clapton stuff, but not to the degree everybody goes on and on and on about just like what.
Like me with the Jackson 5. I have a select few.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's how I feel about Clapton. Cream, Clapton, Derek and the Dominoes, good stuff. Of course, that was mostly helped by the inclusion of Allman in there and stuff, Dwayne. But Earth, Wind, and Fire, come on, man. What a great group. They were around for years. And again, influential. They were a big seller. They were a big touring act. That's stupid. Lovin' Spoonful, that's another one, kind of like the Young Rascals. I feel like too many of these 60s rock groups are kind of being discredited a little bit. Like if you're not the Byrds or Bob Dylan or the Stones, like, you weren't nothing. Lovin' Spoonful was huge act, man. I don't know. John Sebastian, very influential as a singer-songwriter kind of guy. He belongs in there. Speaking of singer-songwriters, I mean, James Taylor. Again, I know that one's probably a borderline for a lot of people. I don't have a problem with him being in there. Bonnie Raitt, I feel like she's, no pun intended, underrated. But Bonnie Raitt, I'm not like a massive Bonnie Raitt fan, but I do feel like, again, pretty considerable sales and stuff. She's still, always was
She's still
well-known, big attraction live and all that stuff, well-respected by her peers and influential. How many female artists, well, all artists, but I mean, just saying, as a female artist, how many people did she influence to play and sing and do her thing? I mean, she was a tough gal and she deserves to be in there. Moonglows, it's fallen in like a lot of those other ones. I get that, but I don't have a problem with it. 2001, Aerosmith, Solomon Burke, The Flamingos, Michael Jackson, Queen, Paul Simon, Steely Dan, and Richie Valens. Again, now out of those, Solomon Burke and The Flamingos, it's another one of those things where big for their time, important for their time, but that seems like that's faded in, perception of like all you guys and stuff. So I'm tired of. I've already made my argument about it. I love the Flamingos and stuff, even though that one, the Flamingos, I think they only have eyes for you. The Schwap Schwap song that used to scare me when I was a little kid. I didn't like that song. I like it now.
I could totally see that.
It was creepy sounding. It's all Schwap Schwap Schwap. Yeah, that creeped me out. But I'm sorry, folks. I know they're going to sit there and say, oh, well, he wasn't around that long. He fucking died in a plane crash. Arguably, if not one of the all-time, the most important plane crashes, deaths that ever happened. The day the music died. It's fucking Richie Valens. Come on. He only had a couple of hits. Dude, get the fuck out of here. Listen, folks, listen to me. Almost every time I play a fucking gig, not a metal gig, but when I'm doing the cover gigs and everything, almost every fucking time I play a gig, somebody asks for La Bamba. Right? Ask for La Bamba. It's one of those songs. It's like Let It Be or
Let It Go. Let It Go.
Oh, no, God.
Not like that. It is today.
Let It Go. Yeah, you need to.
Sorry, guys.
Anyway, just for that alone, come on, man. It's Richie Valens. Richie Valens was awesome. And Richie Valens could have been, I know they're going, well, we're not basing it on could have been. Well, in this fucking instance, I'm sorry. You put fucking Buddy Holly in there. He died in the same plane crash, and he wasn't around a whole hell of a lot longer. Granted, he had more hits, but still. Richie Valens, big influence and very important. Belongs in the Rock Hall. I can't believe anybody would even question that. That's just dumb.
I got that song stuck in everybody's head now. I'm terribly sorry, guys.
Are they? Why?
They're yelling at me.
Oh. Good, they should. 2002, we've got Isaac Hayes, Brenda Lee, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Gene Pitney, the Ramones, and Talking Heads. And surprisingly, well, I guess not too surprisingly, because I know that Petty and the Ramones and Talking Heads are very much critical darlings. But they eliminated the other three. Isaac Hayes, really? Oh man, that's a pretty big name to a lot of people. You ask a lot of the African American artists of the last 30, 40 years or so, and they're going to sit there and say Isaac Hayes was the fucking man, big influence, big presence in their lives and in their, household and everything. I don't know. That seems pretty lopsided to discredit him.
Matt just made a good point that on our last one, he's celebrated because he died young, just like JFK's seen as awesome now. It's like, if he hadn't died, he just kind of got out of the music, would we still feel the same way?
When it comes to Richie Valens, I'm going to argue that a little bit, because I think Richie Valens was, there are other artists, I'm not going to name names, there are other artists who were not celebrated, but then because they died, they became more celebrated, And that, I feel like I can see a little bit of an argument, about that, and going, well, if they hadn't died, would they have really made? But Richie Valens was already making a mark. And I mean, being a Latino rock and roll star and everything at the time, I mean, that was huge. That was so important. Like, that was, and at a time when, let's fucking face it, man, with payola and bullshit politics and, society being the way it was, it was hard for any person of color that besides fucking white to be accepted. And I mean, this was back in the days when you had fucking goofballs. I can't even think of their names. They had these like, white bread fucking guys singing, Tutti Frutti, all Rudy, because the radio wouldn't play the Little Richard version of it, because that was too black and so on. I'm sorry. I don't know. To me, Richie Valens was very influential and stuff. And, and then his legacy carried on when they came out with the movie, in the 80s and stuff. And then a whole new generation discovered him, and through artists like Los Lobos and different people that continue to champion his influence. Now Richie Valens belongs there. I understand your point, Matt, about some of that, but Brenda Lee is another one of those ones. I like Brenda Lee, but I guess some people are going to say she wasn't that important. It's a little ageism going on there. Gene Pitney, I really dig Gene Pitney. Gene Pitney is awesome, but yeah, I can see how some people are going to say that's not that big of an influence anymore, that he didn't, make that big of a mark. Yeah, I don't know. I've already made that argument. Now we're going to get into some shit I'm really going to get worked up about.
Here's where it starts.
Hang on. I got to take a drink. You can talk.
You made me read this again. I can't read. Where are we at? 2003?
Oh, no. This is going to be a nightmare if you tried to.
Actic.
I should just have you read. You're going to make me pass out from laughing. I should just have you read them all, because actic. She means AC/DC. I'm reading the rest of them. Just give it up. Just give it up. Aren't you the one that had LASIK surgery on your eyes?
Clearly, that's not.
I'm supposed to be wearing glasses, and I can still read it, but I also kind of know what it says already anyway. 2003, we have.
You made this.
Yeah, it's true. 2003, we have AC/DC, The Clash, Elvis Costello and the Attractions, The Police, and the Righteous Brothers. All five of those are absolutely fucking phenomenal, and important. And they eliminated the Righteous Brothers. Give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break. And the best part about it, I don't have this part of the article. I don't think you can see it from there. No, you can't. The best part is in the article when they were talking about the Righteous Brothers, they said something to the effect of like, come on, let's face it, most people only know one song of theirs.
Oh, no.
What?
Oh, no.
Come on, man. Dude, I mean, yeah, you've lost that love and feeling. Yeah, that's obviously, I mean, that's a monumental hit, but Unchained Melody, and there's a bunch of others that, and again, another ones that were so influential and so respected by other peers. Come on, not eliminating the Righteous Brothers. You're just reaching now. You're just reaching because you knew out of that list you couldn't get rid of any of the other ones and stuff. Because you can't get rid of the Police and Elvis Costello and the Clash and AC/DC. You get rid of AC/DC, some motherfucker's gonna riot, man. You don't fuck with AC/DC. This one, oh my God. So
wow.
Here we go.
This is not going to be pretty.
I'm cracking my knuckles here. Let's get, 2004, we have Jackson Browne. Oh God, I can't even read that.
Oh, see, it's not so easy, is it?
Well, I thought, I was like, wait a minute, I could go either way. The Dells. George Harrison, Prince, Bob Seger, Traffic, and ZZ Top.
Yep, this is where they lost me.
And they eliminated all of them except Prince. Now, granted,
Prince needs to be in there.
I mean, it's Prince, you know. I mean, okay, let's just address the fucking 800-pound fucking, you know, elephant in this one. You're going to eliminate George Harrison. And their argument was, well, George as a solo artist only really had one landmark album. Okay, well, that's not true. I mean, he had other very, very successful albums, but he only had one that was like a behemoth. And that was All Things Must Pass. I mean, that's still, you know, that's regarded as one of the greatest albums of all time. Which you would think, shouldn't that at least be enough? The fact that he was that and, you know, coming out of the Beatles, I don't care if he was already, you know, inducted as part of the Beatles. I'm sorry, George Harrison, for all the stuff he did, the fact that he brought, you know, he brought the benefit in music, you know, and all that stuff. What he did with his music to actually help the world, you know, not to mention that he had numerous hits and stuff over the years. And again, influence not only as part of the Beatles, but as a solo artist and stuff. Come on, man. That's just reaching. The Dells, okay, that falls in that same category as a bunch of these other ones. Jackson Browne, man, I don't know, dude. Jackson Browne is huge. One of the most important and popular and influential singer-songwriters of, you know, my generation and before my, you know, I mean, come on, Jackson Browne. That's a stretch as well. Bob Seger, dude. Bob Seger, have you seen Bob Seger's greatest hits? Have you looked at the fucking track listing on Bob Seger's greatest hits? You can get it at Walmart for $19.99 on colored vinyl. Right?
You did, didn't you?
Fuck yeah, I did. Of course I did. It's fucking Bob Seger. Everybody that knows me knows how I feel about Bob Seger. I'll sing some Bob Seger, man.
You also sing some ZZ Top.
And some ZZ Top. And in Traffic, that's just, I'm running out of fucking expletives to throw out there about this. That's just stupid.
It's sacrilegious.
It is.
List.
I mean, Traffic, okay, I guess they're going to sit there and say that was a little more of a limited thing, you know, Steve Winwood's band in the early 70s and stuff like that. But again, I don't know, Traffic was pretty fucking big and influential. It sold a lot of records in their day. Again, Bob Seger, it's Bob Seger. I mean, Bob Seger just did his farewell tour thing or whatever, and he sold out like Allstate Arena, like multiple times. That's what I think
they need to take into account, the concerts and how big venues they sell out.
And staying power and stuff. You know, I mean, Bob Seger has been around since Ramblin' Gamblin' Man back in the late 60s, early 70s. You know, was that 1970, something like that? And then all his hits, that's just stupid to discount him. ZZ Top. I mean, come on, man. You're going to put the Ramones in there, but you're not going to put, and I'm not saying that as negative because anybody, I am a massive Ramones fan. One of the most biggest influences of my life. But ZZ Top, dude. ZZ Top. I mean, what are these people that just think they only had those couple of 80s hits? Are you kidding me? People, I mean, as a guy who works in the industry and stuff like that and deals with guitar gear and things like that regularly, let me tell you, not a day goes by that I don't see somebody talking about Billy Gibbons and his guitar sound and his playing and his influence and people looking for that. And I'm sorry, that has to take account into it. And it did when they put him in there in the fucking first place. And these nitwits taking him out of there. It's fucking dumb. Oh, my God. All right. Sorry, I know I've been going on and on forever. This is already almost an hour, so I'm going to start going quicker through this. 2005, Buddy Guy, the OJs, the Pretenders, Percy Sledge, and U2. And see, this is where I start having an issue because I start seeing them do things like they're going to keep the what I called like the Rolling Stone magazine favorites, darlings, like U2 and the Pretenders and Prince and the Clash and Elvis Costello and all that. I like all them too. But then we're going to start discrediting things like the OJs. Ridiculous. Buddy Guy, again, and they're going to say, well, he's blues, he's not rock and roll. He's fucking Buddy Guy. I mean, there are still guitar players, young guitar players. Go ask people like Jared James Nichols and different, Joe Bonamassa and all these other people that are tons of them out in, that are in rock and roll right now. Again, Black Keys, Jack White, all these different people. Like, ask them if Buddy Guy deserves to be in there. Fucking come on, man. Just because he's not a Billboard charting guy, whatever. And Percy Sledge, man, When a Man Loves a Woman, that song alone, he just deserves to be in there. Sorry. So, all right, moving right along. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I'm singing Muppet songs. I'm going to try and get us back up on the screen. Back it up. Do you
want to read the names while you're doing it?
No.
Are you sure?
No, I think we're good. All right. So 2006, we start getting into a lot of my stuff. I guess, well, it's all my stuff, but we have Black Sabbath, Blondie, Miles Davis, Leonard Skinner, and the Sex Pistols. And surprisingly, I think in one of the first years since the early years, they did not eliminate any of them. And that's what I'm talking about. Some of these other ones that they're gonna discredit, but then they're gonna leave like Miles Davis in there, which I have no problem with. But Miles Davis is another one. It's not rock and roll. He was jazz. He was fusion. He was but I get it. Very influential. Sold a lot of records. But I think if he belongs in there, so do a lot of these other ones. So, but I'm glad they didn't eliminate any of those because they belong in there. 2007, we have Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, REM, the Ronettes. Oh, speaking of, we just lost Ronnie Spector just the other day. Actually, she just passed away. Sorry to bring it down, but Ronnie Spector was awesome. Thankfully, they kept her in there. Patti Smith. And Van Halen. And out of that bunch, they got rid of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Now, when that first was brought up, it was controversial because there was a lot of people who felt that rap artists did not belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I'm sorry, I disagree. I don't think they all do, just like not necessarily all rock and pop and blues and jazz and funk people belong in there too, but I do think some of them. And Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five were, again, part of the nucleus of that movement, and not the rap group Nucleus who did jam on it, but they belong in there too, as far as I'm concerned, even though they had one hit. But anyway, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, I don't agree. I think they belong in there. I know, but that's one that a lot of people are going to say they don't belong in there. Well, whatever. They made it in anyway. Oh boy. Wow. Okay. Oh boy. This next one. Holy fuck. 2008. We have the Dave Clark Five, Leonard Cohen. We have Madonna, John Mellencamp, and the Ventures.
Oh no. Oh no.
And they eliminated everybody except Leonard Cohen. I dig Leonard Cohen, but okay. And Madonna. That she stayed in there. They eliminated the Dave Clark Five. Again, it's the Dave Clark Five. It's one of those ones that, again, people are going to be like, oh, I'm not familiar with them. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you really fucking are. You just don't even, big band. There was a time, I mean, it may have been brief, may have only been a year and a half, something like that. But there was a time where there was a lot of people who thought the Dave Clark Five back in the 60s, people always think of the Beatles and the Stones. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that was a little fabricated, I think, and that sort of came later. I think the fucking Dave Clark Five were looked at as being like the Beatles or the Dave Clark Five. Like Dave Clark Five were a massive pop rock group, massive. And I can't list all the songs now, but again, if I start listing songs, you get Any Way You Want It, you can always hear me say, hey, hey, hey. If I list them, you're going to know them. Okay. And most people out there. Dave Clark Five absolutely belongs in there. Again, I feel like this has this weird stilt against a lot of the 60s rock groups. It's real weird. John Mellencamp? Are you kidding, man? Mm-hmm. John Mellencamp? He's huge. He's fucking huge. He's still huge. If John Mellencamp went on tour right now, he'd fucking sell out Allstate Arena. He'd sell out United Center easily with really expensive tickets. No problem.
Not just because it's Indiana?
Well, it's close to Indiana and Chicago, yeah. No, he's huge. He's an international star. I mean, he's a very much an Americana star. You know what I mean? He's really big here. But I'm sorry. Big concert attraction, big hits, lots of sales. Incredible songwriter. I think he's a great songwriter. I'm biased. I guess I'm a big fan, but even so, I don't see how you could take him out. And the Ventures, now you're fucking with me, because the Ventures are absolutely, hands down, one of the biggest, most influential guitar groups of all time. There are so many of the guitar players out there in the world that you love, from Eddie Van Halen to God, any of them, from Eddie Van Halen to Randy Rhoads to fucking ZZ Top to Joe Bonamassa and on. Those guys wouldn't have been playing guitar or be what they were, that have that kind of guitar playing, if it wasn't for the Ventures. Now, granted, the problem with the Ventures was a lot of what they did was they were doing their interpretations of other material. So if you're docking points based on a lack of songwriting, like of the doing their own stuff, doing originals, I guess that kind of counts in there. But I feel like the Ventures' influence on guitar, and I'm sorry, people could go, well, it's just guitar. It's fucking rock and roll. The goddamn logo of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a guitar. So, yeah. So, how about them apples? They belong in there. 2009, we have Jeff Beck. Oh, here's where if Colin's still in there, here's where Colin's going to start having a fucking fit. Jeff Beck, Little Anthony and the Imperials, Metallica, Run DMC, and Bobby Womack. Okay, they eliminated Bobby Womack. Okay. It's falling into the same tropes as earlier with a lot of stuff. I get it. I can go either way on that. They kept Run DMC, which, again, I'm fine with, but compared to what they're letting go of. They kept Metallica. They got rid of Little Anthony and the Imperials. Again, we're getting into ageism with stuff.
Colin's here.
And Colin has spoken up in the chat because he said, I'll kill a motherfucker for Jeff Beck, because they eliminated Jeff Beck. Yeah. That's just dumb. That's just, it's Jeff Beck. It's one of the biggest, most important rock guitar players of all time. Of all time. It's Jeff Beck. I don't even, I don't even know what to say about that. It's fucking Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck is again, especially, I was talking about the Ventures. You want to go, oh, Jeff Beck wasn't that important. Okay, no Jeff Beck. There's no Eddie Van Halen. None. There is no Eddie Van Halen without Jeff Beck. There's no Joe Bonamassa, without Jeff Beck. There's no tons of fucking people. None. Gone. They're just gone, without fucking Jeff Beck. So Jeff Beck belongs there. He may not have had, as a solo artist, he may not have been like a super high charting guy all the time. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this is definitely one of those instances where the influence and all that really overdoes that, overtakes that. So that's just fucking incredible. Jeff Beck, come on, man. Oh, wow. Yeah, Tammy says, Jeff Beck, exactly. See how fucking stupid this is? This just gets dumber and dumber as it goes.
As we keep going, it's going to get worse.
Okay, we're into the 2010s, so we're winding down, folks. All right, 2010. We have ABBA. We have Genesis, right? Okay, yeah, Genesis, Jimmy Cliff, the Hollies, and the Stooges. All pretty important. The ones they got rid of out of there was Jimmy Cliff. Again, they're going to say he's too specialized of an artist and whatnot. I get it. I guess he's kind of teetering, but I don't have a problem with him being in there. The Hollies, man. Again, we're with the 60s groups, man. They just really...
They do not like the 60s.
They just discredit these 60s groups too much. The Hollies are massive influence, big time sellers, big act. And, and Graham Nash came from the Hollies. And I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. 2011. Oh, boy. Yeah, now they're just poking me. Okay. 2011. And I'm just going to give you, for everybody that if you're listening to this later and you're not looking at it, I'm just going to give you a spoiler here. They eliminate everybody except one person. We have Alice Cooper, Neil Diamond, Dr. John, Darlene Love, and Tom Waits. And in true critic fashion, the only one they kept was Tom Waits, who, again, you know, I like Tom Waits, man. Tom Waits is super fucking cool, you know, but you're gonna tell me Tom Waits still deserves to be there more than Alice Cooper or Neil Diamond? I mean,
wow.
Come on. That's just, you know, give me a break, man. Dr. John was a big artist. I'm fine with Dr. John being in there, but I can understand, again, their reason on that. Darlene Love is falling into that same category with a lot of the other ones. Alice Cooper, that's the one where I'm going to punch somebody in the throat for that one. Come on, man. Alice Cooper, again, not a critical darling by any stretch, just like some of the other bands, but Alice Cooper is one of the biggest rock stars, one of the most, you know, influential stars of all time. Plus he sells big. He still sells big. Still packing arenas. Come on, man. Give me a break.
And Neil Diamond, that one.
And Neil Diamond, yeah. I feel like Neil Diamond doesn't get props. He doesn't get respect. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, I think, look at him almost like in a jokey sort of way, and they're wrong. He wrote, for one thing, he wrote a lot of other people's music too that were big, substantial hits, and you know, he was big himself. He still is. There's again some ageism and bias going on there. 2012, we have what are people saying in there? Neil Diamond's son, King, is pretty big as well. King, oh, funny, haha. King Diamond, wow. Yeah, I agree that Neil Diamond shocks me. I don't. Yeah. No, Mike, you were right. 2011 was an ugly one, man. Joe says he hopes Alex Lifeson sees this article and punches the writer in the groin. You know what? If you get Alex Lifeson drunk enough, he'll do it too.
He might do it, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so 2012, we have the Beastie Boys, Donovan, Guns N' Roses, Laura Nyro, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and the Small Faces/Faces. Okay. So again, this is one where I feel like, we're getting into that anti-60s group importance thing, and we're getting into things that I start noticing now where we start, I feel like, getting a little bit too America-centric, which I guess I get because they're saying this is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's in America, blah, blah, blah. But I don't look at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame like it should be limited to just the U.S. You know, I feel like international has to factor in. The Small Faces, who later became the Faces and stuff, like, people just don't even understand how huge of an influence that group was and is. There's still a lot of these like gritty, you know, young, you get these kind of new wave of rock and roll bands that come out nowadays and stuff that, you know, even bands, I know people are going to groan because we know what their main influence is, but even bands like, you know, Greta Van Fleet, you know, and other ones, I mean, so many bands are going to acknowledge Steve Marriott and the Faces. Now, the problem is they were never necessarily as big here in the United States as they were overseas and in the rest of the world. But even so, yeah, I feel like that's just a naive one. That's a really, really naive one on the part of the people that did this. I don't agree with the Small Faces being eliminated. Laura Nyro, yeah, you know, she was important in her own way, but I again, going by this, if somebody's got to go, I can see that. Donovan was a big deal, and you know, people still know a lot of Donovan's songs and stuff. Mellow Yellow, I mean, they made a goddamn soda out of it. You know, but you know, Sunshine Superman, all that. Again, he was super important. I guess his importance was limited because once we got into the 70s and stuff, he wasn't as big of a deal anymore for the most part. But I don't know. I feel like he belongs in there like a lot of the other older artists. I wouldn't get rid of Donovan or Small Faces. Laura, yeah, maybe either way. Here's where it gets real ugly in this next one. 2013. We have Rush, Heart, Randy Newman, Public Enemy, Donna Summer, and Albert King. And I feel like in this one, it's like, okay, are you like punking me? Are you punking me?
With me now?
Because out of these 6, you kept Donna Summer, which I'm fine with. Donna Summer was amazing. Public Enemy, which, yeah, I'm fine with that because Public Enemy, as far as rap, goes and all that stuff, massive influence and all that stuff. Randy Newman, really? I mean, okay. I don't dislike Randy Newman, but I wouldn't exactly look at it and go, yeah, Randy Newman, there's a guy who belongs in there more than, Neil Diamond and Alice Cooper and Rush and Hart and the Dave Clark Five. Randy Newman, I guess if you really like Pixar films, maybe. But so they eliminated Rush. Go fucking figure. Of course, these fucks that would eliminate Rush. They eliminated Hart. And they eliminated Albert King. Albert King, again, another one of these ones, just like, I guess if they're going to eliminate Jeff Beck, they may as well eliminate Albert King, right? Stupid. Hart, are you kidding me? Really? Hart? I can't turn around without hearing a fucking Hart song. I can't. I play in bands that don't even have female vocalists in it, and every other fucking show somebody comes up and asks me to play a fucking Hart song. And I'm like, if you think I could sing Ann Wilson, man, thanks for the fucking compliment, because very few people in the world can sing like Ann Wilson. Hart to me was, in so many respects, they were sort of the female Led Zeppelin, and they kind of wanted to be the female Led Zeppelin. They wouldn't be offended by that, but that's kind of limiting to them. Hart, come on, everybody knows Hart belongs in there for a multitude of reasons, and Rush. Well, again, critics have always despised Rush. Apparently a lot of women have always despised Rush.
Maybe a woman wrote this article.
I was just going to say, because it's the oldest joke. Even the band themselves joke about it and everything, which but Rush is one of the greatest bands of all time. All time.
Said it. There.
All time. Yeah. People be like, well, blah, 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 this and that.
The one where you have to do the drum solo?
Yeah, I have a thing where anytime Subdivisions comes on, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I could be driving in heavy traffic. I'm sorry, I know this is really bad of me. But if Subdivisions comes on, I'm playing along with the drums and the entire time. I know I don't play drums.
He's in the middle of a snowstorm, driving out the Vito's. I was like, what are you doing, you psycho? Put your hands on the wheel.
I'm like, but this is the best part when he does the over da 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 da, and he's doing the over under snare and hi-hat thing. Dude. Yeah. Sorry, but people want to argue with me like, well, I don't know about Rush in there. I got 2 words for you. Neil Peart. End of argument.
I thought it was going to be fuck you.
And well,
2
yeah.
words.
Neil Peart's up there looking at you laughing. They're looking at people laughing going, yeah, fuck you. Neil Peart. End of discussion. Well, I don't think Rush is that good. The vocals, and then maybe they didn't have as many. Neil Peart. Done. Just done. And any drummer worth their fucking salt is going to sit there and applaud me right now. Anyway, 2014, Peter Gabriel, Daryl Hall and John Oates, Kiss, Nirvana, Linda Ronstadt, and Cat Stevens. And the only ones...
I'm going to go over here and sit down for a while.
And the only ones they kept was Peter Gabriel and Nirvana. Now...
Thank God they kept Peter Gabriel.
Yeah, because I'm a massive Peter Gabriel fan, especially Peter Gabriel Genesis, but his solo stuff too. Peter Gabriel absolutely deserves to be in there. Absolute innovator in so many ways. Music, image, video, everything just belongs in there. They eliminated Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I mean, one of the greatest vocal duos of all time.
They gotta have like the most hits out of anybody.
They've got so many hits, so many records sold. We just went and saw them live, and they sold out the fucking place during a pandemic. They're influential. I mean, come on. This is like one of those punk things where they're like, are they punking me? You're just trying to punk me with this stuff, like Daryl Hall and John Oates eliminate. I know everybody's waiting for me to go on a rant, and of course they eliminated Kiss. Go fucking figure, they eliminated Kiss. Critics and people who make lists and greatest of all times lists, they always eliminate Kiss. They sit there and say, well, they can't play, and that their songs are trite and immature, and their image is stupid, and it's kiddie stuff, and blah blah blah.
But their shows are fun.
Well, here's the thing. Even if all of those things were somewhat true, the same can be said for so many of the people that they also included in this list. You know what I mean? It's, did Madonna, Madonna doesn't have goofy image stuff that she's done over, she hasn't all been all that silly ass images and goofy sexy songs and all, I mean, and I love Madonna. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bagging on Madonna, but, it doesn't surprise me that they're not, that they're not included. What are you laughing at?
You're asking, are you medicated? You're being really calm about this.
I'm just so used to it. I mean, I've been a Kiss fan since literally, no exaggeration. Anybody who knows me knows this is true. I've been a Kiss fan since I was 3 years old. So far back that I can barely remember the first time I heard Kiss, though I think I remember the first time. But I'm just used to it. It was, people were trying to get Kiss into the Rock Hall for years, and the Rock Hall was avoiding it, and then they finally relented and, got them in there and stuff. And it doesn't fucking surprise me that they would say, but you're talking about, again, you're talking about a band that still sells out arenas. They're still constantly in the news. Everybody knows them. They've influenced everybody from Garth Brooks to death metal bands. Garth Brooks is a huge Kiss fan. Did a great cover of Hard Luck Woman, actually, by the way. But, a lot of country artists and stuff. They're, rock artists, pop artists, rap artists. To sit there and say Kiss doesn't belong in there, that's just, come on, man. You're just taking a cheap shot. Linda Ronstadt? Again, it's another one of those things where I think it's some naivete there about people not understanding the importance of Linda Ronstadt and, what she meant to the scene and stuff. Some people are going to argue, well, that's not enough. To me, it is. Linda Ronstadt belongs in there. If it wasn't for Linda Ronstadt, we wouldn't have the Eagles, because that's where those guys got their start, was backing her up. Don Henley and Glenn Frey. And yeah. So anyway, Cat Stevens. Yeah, I guess to some people they're going to say, he doesn't really belong in there. I think he does. I know he's a little bit of a controversial figure because of his religious and political stance on things and stuff, but I don't care. Notwithstanding, I think Cat Stevens is amazing. I think he belongs in there. 2015, we have Green Day, the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Lou Reed, Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble, and Bill Withers. They eliminated everybody except Green Day, and Lou Reed. Now, look, I'm going to make no bones about the fact that I'm not a huge Green Day fan. I like some of their stuff, but they're the band that I feel like if anybody wasn't going to be included on the list, it should be them. I feel like Green Day, well, no, I guess not. I guess at this point, I don't know, back in 2015, now I guess I feel like Green Day have kind of matured to the point where they would belong on the list. So I guess I don't really have a problem with Green Day being on there. Lou Reed, it's fucking Lou Reed, if you like Lou Reed. If Bowie's being Lou, Lou's being Bowie. Lou's still being Lou. If you like Lou. Anybody know what movie that's from? But anyway, I get that. But Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, really? I don't know she belongs in there. Joan Jett is fucking Absolutely. Heart and soul of rock and roll right there. And again, I know she's another one that's notorious for not doing a lot of her own songwriting and stuff, but neither is Madonna. Right. So, same with a lot of these others. So, yeah. Paul Butterfield Blues Band. That's another one of those ones from the 60s and so on where people are going to say, oh, I never even heard of them. Just extremely influential. I think they deserve to be in there on influence alone. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. Okay. Again, it's getting into that territory like Jeff Beck and all that kind of stuff. Stevie Ray Vaughan is hands down one of the most legendary, most influential, most important guitar players to ever come along. Again, every day when I do my job, I see people talking about asking how to get that sound and how to play like him. And every cover band you go to see plays at least, I don't do any. I have in the past, though. I currently don't do any Stevie Ray, but most of my stuff's acoustic anyway. But that's just ridiculous to not include Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's just being silly. Bill Withers was great. Again, I guess I kind of get it. He's another one of those more fringy artists that they're gonna say wasn't important enough or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But all right, wrapping it up. We're getting down to the final stretch here, everybody. So we are at 2016. Okay. So in 2016, we have, oh my God. Wow. Oh boy. Okay. So everybody was like, wow, Larry's being really calm about the Kiss thing and everything. All right. Well, here's where Larry blows his fucking stack. 2016, we have Cheap Trick, Chicago, Deep Purple, Steve Miller, and NWA. They eliminated all of them except Deep Purple. Now, thank goodness for them they didn't eliminate Deep Purple, because I'm a really, really, really big Deep Purple fan. Really, really, really big. Love Deep Purple with all my heart. But arguably, not even arguably, I can say it with confidence, I love Cheap Trick
even more.
Cheap Trick's, I don't know, probably top 5 favorite bands of all time. I've seen Cheap Trick live, something like 40 times, at least. Cheap Trick was the first band I ever saw live back in 1978 when I was 5, opening for Sha Na Na. Saw them at Chicago Fest in 81. I saw all that shit. Cheap Trick is one of the greatest rock and roll bands to ever exist, ever exist, and have influenced so many fucking artists. Cheap Trick live at Budokan. All you gotta do is say fucking Budokan. People know what that means. Fucking Budokan. I want you to want me. Have you forgotten the majesty of Robin Zander? I want you to want me. The Dream Police, da-da-da-da-da-da. Your mama's all right. Your daddy's all right. I'm doing my Damone from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It made it into Fast Times at Ridgemont High in that fucking regard. Come on, man. Without Cheap Trick, there wouldn't be a Motley Crue or any of those hair bands. I mean, they fucking stole everything from Cheap Trick, Come on, Smashing Pumpkins and stuff. Smashing Pumpkins opened for fucking Cheap Trick after Smashing Pumpkins were big. All right? I was there. Metro, 98. Thanks, Joe Riga. Anyway, yeah, come on. And the band Chicago. Dude, it's Chicago. It's another one of the biggest acts of all time. And I mean, there's nothing you could tell me, other than they're not critical darlings. They've never been critical darlings. Big selling, big influence. I mean, Jesus, there's a band from Russia now that's touring the world just playing Chicago songs. And they do it very, very well, actually, I might add. They're really great. I know Mike Rees. I don't know if he's still around. He probably went to bed, but no, that was Mike. But yeah, he's going to get it. 2 words. Terry Kath. Yeah. Much like the Neil Peart thing. Terry Kath, absolute legend player, songwriter, personality. Just come on, man. Mm-hmm. Steve Miller. Funnily enough, Steve Miller was the one who came out at the Rock Hall induction and just tore the fucking Rock Hall a new asshole. He just tore it a new ass.
Really?
And was just like, this is all bullshit. Steve Miller is a famous curmudgeon and everything, and I'm sure they factored that into it. Like, he doesn't even want to be there. Well, but he belongs there. Steve Miller is pretty big. NWA, I'm not a fan. Public Enemy, I dig stuff like that. NWA, it's just not my thing. I that came later, but I respect it. I understand why it's in there. I totally get why it's in there. I think it belongs in there. 2017. Oh my God. Okay. 2017. Electric Light Orchestra, Joan Baez, Journey, Pearl Jam, Tupac Shakur, and Yes. And they eliminated everybody but Tupac and Pearl Jam.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Now, Tupac had some good stuff. I don't have anything against Tupac. I get why he's in there. I get why he's in there. He might be a little bit of a case, kind of like what Matt was saying earlier about had he not died the way he did and everything. But I don't know. Tupac is pretty influential, and I think he deserves it in there. Pearl Jam. Now, granted, I'm not the biggest Pearl Jam fan in the fucking world. Most people know that. I don't hate them or anything, but my enjoyment of Pearl Jam is very limited. But to say Pearl Jam belongs in there, but ELO and Journey and Yes don't belong in there. Go suck a fucking donkey's asshole. Are you fucking kidding me? Well, of course, because Journey and Yes were never critical favorites. They were always criticized and, but you're talking about two of the big influence, most influential bands. I mean, Yes, my God. And that's, and Yes is a big, big favorite of mine. Big favorite of mine. I've seen them many times over the years and, big influence on me since I was a kid. Journey? Okay. Well, my favorite guitar player, my two favorite guitar players in the world are, if I had to pick, are Brian May from Queen and Neil Schon from Journey. So, I'm going to say Journey belongs in there. And it's fucking Journey. Come on. Again, another band that I can't play a fucking gig without somebody saying, play Journey. Mm-hmm. And I kill myself singing it, believe me. But Joan Baez, hugely influential artist and important. Again, rock and roll? No, she's not what I would call rock and roll, but I get the importance of her influence and everything, She belongs in there. Electric Light Orchestra, man. Come on. They're everything from their hits to influence, not only just influence on artists, but influence on production. A lot of like modern production and stuff we got came from that sound of Electric Light Orchestra. And then, what?
I didn't say a word.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying 2018. Oh, we've got another bloodbath in 2018. We've got Bon Jovi, the Moody Blues, the Cars, Dire Straits, and Nina Simone. And they kept
Nina Simone.
The only one they kept was Nina Simone, which, Nina Simone's great. But really? Like, out of that batch, you're going, oh, no, the only one who deserves to stick around is Nina Simone? Really? Bon Jovi, I know they're another one of those acts that people love or hate and stuff like that. But big, big, big band, man. I mean, they're legendary now. They are, the Moody Blues. Another legendary band. It's this fucking prejudice against the fucking 60s bands. I don't get it. The Cars, another big influential band, big hits, great band. Benjamin Orr is more talented than fucking 70% of the people on this fucking list. Oof. And Dire Straits. I mean, okay, I don't know. I feel like, again, that might be a little bit of ageism and regionality going on there because Dire Straits are sort of known for just like a couple of hits here in the United States, whereas I feel like on a more global scale, their influence and Mark Knopfler's influence is much bigger than people are giving it credit for. 2019, Def Leppard, Stevie Nicks, Janet Jackson, Radiohead, Roxy Music, The Cure, and the Zombies. This is really interesting because they kept Janet Jackson, which, okay, I guess. They kept Radiohead. Well, of course they did. I love Radiohead, but, talk about critical darlings. Roxy Music, which I'm actually kind of surprised they kept Roxy Music because, again, another artist that wasn't that big in America, but big worldwide, and I fucking love Roxy Music. Real big into them. The Cure, I mean, thank God they didn't eliminate them. It's the fucking Cure, I mean. But they eliminated the Zombies, which, man, they, again, 60s bands. They're just not giving enough credit to these fucking 60s bands for their importance. I mean, the Zombies have influenced...
Was the Rolling still even around? the magazine?
Yeah,
in the 60s. I'm beginning to wonder since that was such a huge.
Rolling Stone was around and started in 67.
Okay.
Jan Wenner started in 67. But again, Rolling Stone especially has always been super particular and biased and opinionated about stuff. And so, I mean, and I know Rolling Stone wasn't the whole
I know, but it was a big part of it.
It was a big part of it and stuff. The Zombies, come on, man. The massive band. I mean, even bands today, I mean, even bands like Opeth even sit there and say, oh, the Zombies are a big influence. Come on, man. Stevie Nicks, I get that people are going to say, well, she's already in there from Fleetwood Mac. Stevie Nicks is a fucking icon and a legend. Get out of here with that. And Def Leppard, again, I feel like they're falling in that same thing that people are doing with Bon Jovi and this stuff where they're discounting them like, oh, it's a hair band, blah, blah, blah. Def Leppard's was, and will continue to be a big band. I still meet like younger people that are like, oh, Def Leppard, like they don't give them enough credit. Def Leppard belongs in there. All right, 2020, we have Depeche Mode, the Doobie Brothers, Whitney Houston, Nine Inch Nails, the Notorious B.I.G., and T-Rex.
Oh, no.
So they eliminated, for the record, I think all of them belong in there for different reasons. They eliminated the Doobie Brothers. Oh, no. That's just dumb. Again, because they were another band that weren't really critical darlings, and then they got associated with yacht rock later in life, and I feel like they don't get taken seriously enough. But man, Doobies, big influence, amazing musicians, lots of sales. I don't see why they don't belong in there. Notorious B.I.G. The only thing I could say is, again, going back to what Matt and people were saying earlier about whether or not how much of his legend is due to the way he died and all that kind of stuff. I don't know that it matters. It's B.I.G. It's Biggie, man. I mean, again, has in the last 20 years influenced how many people in so many ways. He's an icon. I'm sorry. He belongs in the Rock Hall. And T-Rex. Now, here's another instance of people sitting there going, well, people only know one song of theirs. Get It On, Bang a Gong. It's like, well, that's the United States, T-Rex are, whether people realize this, a lot of you guys may not even realize it. T-Rex are one of the biggest bands of all time. They changed music in so many respects. I mean, if it wasn't for T-Rex, we wouldn't have had, even though these artists already existed, they wouldn't have become what they were if it wouldn't have been for T-Rex paving the way and influencing them and helping them and all this stuff. We wouldn't have Elton John. We wouldn't have David Bowie. We wouldn't have Kiss. We wouldn't have numerous umpteen artists if it wasn't for T-Rex. I mean, T-Rex and the rest of the world was a phenomenon, an absolute, like Beatles, like maybe not quite like that, but phenomenon. The Muppets always come back into it. T-Rex was a phenomenon, and I get that in the United States maybe it was a little more limited and stuff, but no, T-Rex is huge, and I'm a big T-Rex fan. Also Tyrannosaurus Rex before they became T-Rex. They actually did that. They changed it because that's a long thing to call yourselves Tyrannosaurus Rex, so they changed it.
I know how to spell it.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally we have 2021, the most recent ones available at the time of this article, where they had Foo Fighters, the Go-Go's, Jay-Z, Carole King, Todd Rundgren, and Tina Turner. That's interesting. Okay, so first of all, we were talking earlier.
Oh, Tina's in there.
So they decided to add Tina on her own and not... I guess technically that makes sense. I guess I don't know. That's weird. And they didn't eliminate Tina Turner. Out of this batch, they eliminated Foo Fighters, the Go-Go's, Carole King, and Todd Rundgren. And again, yeah, this is another one where I feel like it's lack of knowledge and naivete. The only ones they kept were Jay-Z, okay, and Tina Turner. I'm not a big Jay-Z fan. I understand this is where generation thing, and I'm going to get ageist on you because I don't relate to Jay-Z's music and stuff. Some of it's cool, but I mean, I acknowledge that influence and his importance is there. It's just not I'm not that familiar with it, but I'm not going to say Jay-Z doesn't belong in there. I totally get why he's in there. But you're going to keep Jay-Z, and you're going to get rid of Carole King. Carole King, for those that don't know, is one of the hands down most important female artists of all time, and has, even though if they're going to try and do like they did with George Harrison, go, well, there's only one big album, but Carole King Tapestry, like, folks, Carole King Tapestry is one of the most successful, most influential, most important albums of the modern, of all time. I mean, Carole King Tapestry is one of the biggest albums of all time. All time. Carole King has influenced everyone. I mean, still, you can turn on XRT, WXRT, a radio station here in Chicago. You could turn on XRT and hear an interview with some new young artist that's 23 years old or something, some female or male. It could be both. But you'll hear them and they'll sit there and say, oh, Carole King was a big influence. Carole King is amazing. People are still covering her songs, You know who Carole King is, right? Mm-hmm. Natural Woman and, It's Too Late. Oh my God. Just off that one album, the songs are amazing. How can you sit there and keep Jay-Z and let go of Carole King? Much less you're letting go of the Go-Go's. So I am a massive Go-Go's fan. I have been since 1981. I have all my original albums. I have the pinups that I took out of magazines and I stuffed them in the albums. I still have all of that. I am a Go-Go's fanatic, even though I've never seen them live.
Oh, really?
And they're done now. So I missed that, just like all the other bucket list ones I missed. I never got to see the Go-Go's live. The Go-Go's, another one. Massive hits. Big name. Everybody knows the Go-Go's. Everybody knows. I mean, come on. Now, the Foo Fighters, that's an interesting one because they eliminated the Foo Fighters, and it gets weird when we're getting into these like more modern artists like that.
Right. If anything, I would say maybe it's too soon for the Foo Fighters.
It might be a little soon. But I ain't mad at it. Yeah. Like, you tell me the Foo Fighters are in there, I'm like, all right. I get it. I've said for years, going back years and years and years, I'm like, oh, the Foo Fighters are, they were like the, at one point I said they were like the Cheap Trick of the new generation, like they were that. Now I don't know if I could sit there and say they don't have quite that influence. I can't sit there and say they're the, the Beatles or something like that of the new generation, but they're probably at least,
They're big. They're really fucking big.
They might be the Stones. You know what I mean? They might be the Rolling Stones, or the Led Zeppelin or something like that. I know that's going to be controversial saying that, but I think most people will get my point. I don't know about that one. I would keep them, but I can see some of the argument. Todd Rundgren, that's another one. Again, like Carole King, I think people just don't understand how important Todd Rundgren was to music. Maybe again, not like the most charting artist out there and stuff, but yeah, it's the way it is. But we made it through the list. So I mean, gauging by the comments from you guys out there and everything, I think most of you are in agreement with me that these lists are fucking bunk. There was a few things that I'm like, yeah, I can kind of agree with, but I think that when you look at these lists, what I think part of the reason I wanted to talk about this and kind of sum it up is when you look at these lists, one interesting side effect that this has is that every year the Rock Hall inducts these people, and there's always a lot of controversy. There's a lot of people that sit there and say, oh, this band doesn't belong in there, or this other band should be in there and not this band, and all this kind of stuff. And while I agree that there are bands, just like, oh yeah, people are bringing up stuff,
Yeah, Colin's saying we should do an episode of who should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, if people want to hear that, and I would love to get like input from people on that. I would love to do a live stream where we get people jumping in on that and telling us what they, because there's ones that I probably wouldn't even think of. There's so many to choose from. and we'd have to, maybe we make our own criteria for it, that I think won't be nearly as biased as this bullshit list was. But my point of what I was going to say was that this was interesting because for all the criticism that they always get with the artists that they do induct and who they leave out, I feel like this shows that in truth, the people that they have let in, for the most part, I think they belong there.
They deserve it.
Yeah. I really do. Again, I know some people are going to argue and say, Biggie and Jay-Z don't belong in there and all that kind of stuff. Or you get people that say, B.B. King and John Lee Hooker don't belong in there and stuff like that, because it's more blues. It's not, but
R&B
to me, rock and roll, I think it's all encompassing of that. I mean, rock and roll is just sort of a generic umbrella term, really, for just like modern popular music, So
like country's it's going to be in there too.
Well, country, yeah, and that's an interesting point, though. Is that they really didn't include a lot of country artists in here, hardly any. Mm-hmm. And I get that they're going to say, well, but it's because they're country music and they have a country Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like so many of like the older country artists and stuff were just as influential and important and a part of rock and roll.
And that's where I was saying that should be like the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And then like a history of rock and roll.
Right.
And how it was influenced and how it came to be how it is. And the Hall of Fame should be just like the legends.
Yeah, or what if you're right, or what if they did it more sort of like how they give out like awards like Grammys and Academy Awards and stuff, where they have awards that are a little bit more specific, where it's like, Lifetime Achievement Award, they have those kind of things like, you could sit there and look at a certain country artist and say, okay, well, they're maybe technically more country and this and that, but acknowledging their importance as a foundation of what came later and stuff, even though they may not have the sales and they may not have quite the enduring bigness as some of these other ones. Yeah, that's, there's possible ways they could do this, but I know we're running real long here, but one last thing I wanted to do just for fun, because we had this
shits and giggles.
Yeah, because we had this in the group, was I know some of you that are in the Geeking Squad group might recognize this. We actually, somebody had posted this in the squad. I don't actually remember who posted it.
I don't remember either.
But I thought this was fun, and a lot of people got involved, and since it's kind of on the same
wave.
On the same wave as this, they had this thing where this was more 80s specific, where it was, which house would you want to be a part of? The 1980s edition. And I just want to see if anybody cares to pipe in with this one. You have to pick a house, and it's based on types of music or bands that are in this house. They have House 1, which is The Cure, Depeche Mode, New Order, The Police, The Smiths, and The Eurythmics. House 2 was Blondie, Talking Heads, Joan Jett, The Cars, B-52s, The Go-Go's. House 3 is Run DMC, Beastie Boys, NWA, Houdini, Slick Rick, and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. House 4 is Prince, Madonna, Duran Duran, Wham, Culture Club, and the Pet Shop Boys. Now you can see how difficult this is for me. House 5 is Guns N' Roses, Journey, Queen, Bon Jovi, Van Halen, and Billy Idol. House 6 is Hall & Oates, Phil Collins, Sade, Billy Joel, Toto, and Steve Winwood. House 7 is Michael Jackson, Rick James, The Gap Band, New Edition, Chaka Khan, and Cameo. House 8 is The Clash, Minor Threat, Bad Brains, Dead Kennedys, Black Flag, and The Misfits. And House 9 is Kraftwerk, Inner City, Grace Jones, Giorgio Moroder, Sister Sledge, and Lisa Lisa, presumably also including The Cult Jam. Yeah, see?
That's my initial one too, is 5.
A lot of people, yeah. I get that, because it's all the great, rockin' bands, like the classic rock bands and stuff.
But I really dig 1 and 6 too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have a tough time. I can't do it, because I could potentially be in any one of these houses. The only one...
I think you said you were couch surfing.
Yeah, I'd be
everybody's houses.
Yeah, I wouldn't be living permanently in any of these houses. I'd be couch surfing through each house, because if I'm forced, absolutely forced to choose, I guess I would go with house number 1.
1? Okay.
That's tough because obviously being kind of a rocker guy and a guitar guy and everything, and being that I just said a few minutes ago that Journey and Queen are two of my favorite bands of all time and my favorite guitar players of all time, I would be inclined to be, not to mention Eddie Van fucking Halen. Jesus. I'd be inclined to be in house number 5, but GNR, I like all of these bands, but I have a feeling GNR and Bon Jovi and hyper-ass Billy Idol would be getting on my nerves trying to live in that house for, yeah, I like all of them. There's bands I like in all of them. House number 9 is really peculiar. I don't know who put that one together.
It's like whatever's left here, throw it in there.
Kind of, because I get that it's like, it's kind of more like synthy type stuff, I guess you could say, but electro stuff. But I don't really know how Lisa and Sister Sledge fit in with Kraftwerk. So I love Kraftwerk. I love me some Kraftwerk. But it's just real weird. Yeah, Giorgio Moroder, Grace Jones. That's an interesting house. That'd be a fun house to go to dance at, I get that. But yeah, house number 1 for me because
4 is really good too.
4 is amazing. Yeah, I mean, we know how big of a Duran Duran fan I am, Prince fan, Pet Shop Boys, all that. But if house number 2, Blondie, a huge Blondie fan.
I got your Go-Go's.
My Go-Go's, B-52s, Cars. Yeah, I mean, I love everything. Love everybody in that.
That's the one I thought you would have picked.
No, for me, The Cure, Depeche Mode, New Fucking Order. Oh, The Police, The Smiths, Eurythmics. I'm a moody 1980s British kid at heart, is what it, I'm a mopey 80s British kid when it comes down to it, Depeche Mode and The Cure. I mean, that's, honest to God, that's the music I listen to most of the time. Everybody always assumes like, Larry, he listens to all this metal and stuff. I really don't. I mean, it's part of me, but I have my choice of like, what music are you going to put on? Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, my default is like, oh yeah, The Cure, Depeche Mode, New Order. I get excited about that stuff. That's all the stuff they play at Late Bar, Yeah, I mean, and they do play other stuff, like, Duran Duran, Pet Shop Boys, all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, house number 6, fucking Toto, Billy Joel, a huge Billy Joel fan, Phil Collins, Hall & Oates. Yeah, I mean, that's what I said. I could go any of these. And then again, anybody that knows me, I mean, house number 8, the Misfits, come on. Fucking, I fucking lived and breathed the Misfits for years. Black Flag, I love Black Flag, Minor Threat, Bad Brains, fuck yeah, Bad Brains is great. All of these. Cameo in house number 7. I love Cameo, underrated fucking funk pop band from the 80s, man. So good. Yeah, I could go any of them. So you're sticking with number 5? Is that your choice?
I think I'm going to stick with number 5.
Interesting. Okay.
I think.
Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't sure which one you would go with. I didn't know. I thought that number 6 would look pretty appealing for you too.
It is. I keep going. Those are the 2 I keep going between. House 5 and house 6.
Yeah, house 4's got some good stuff too. But anyway, so I mean,
debated all night.
Yeah, we really could. But
we've been going for like 2 hours now. Let's get out of here.
Anyway, so. That is
everybody stuck around with us.
Yeah, thank you to everybody that checked this out and stuck around with us through this and stuff.
Technical difficulties in the beginning.
Man,
that's where Larry blew his fuse. Was early, so.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why I didn't get more worked up about these lists, because I got so worked up trying to get all the technical stuff out of the way. I got to figure out why that happened so that this does not keep happening. I don't understand why there was that technical issue, but I don't care. We're not giving up. We're going to keep doing these live streams because
we'll get it together eventually.
We really like having you guys there live with us as we're doing this. I mean, it's cool doing the other stuff too, and we'll still do that as well. But these live streams are so much fun for us, and yeah, exactly. We have for us. Yeah, anybody who knows me knows that I will talk for hours about it. But we got to go. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much, and we'll be back soon. Probably, I don't know. We might be back before my birthday. We'll see. Maybe. I don't know if we're going to have time. Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Otherwise, if we're not back soon, we'll see you in February. Yeah, and see you in a couple of weeks or something. So, all right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.